I'll be here.
You're looking-
Quorum, that's all that matters.
Switch is on. All right, welcome, everybody. Gonna open up the meeting, Casson Park Board for June 17th, 2025. Has anybody had a chance to look at the minutes? Any questions on the minutes? I have one. Old business B, Northeast Playground, I'm assuming that means Diamond.
Yeah.
Do we need to put Diamond Park in there? Could you switch that out?
You know, Chuck, I've wondered about the name on that park too. I feel like there might be a better name we can come up with than Northeast Diamond Park, so I sort of wondered about that. But yeah, sorry, different topic. But
Oh, that's fine.
We'll put that on the bottom, put that on the bottom.
What's that?
We'll put that on the bottom.
Greg Kubal Park, I don't know, something like
Well,
that.
I was gonna question I guess you already done with that one?
Yeah, I'm done.
Just the oath of office by Kubal, who's that guy?
Yeah.
But I guess if he's,
I will say, if you go into Google, Tot Lot is Sand Park. We should probably get that changed.
Well, I mean, it actually was named after somebody.
Oh, okay, I didn't.
Yeah, no, my wife looked it up and she's like, what is this? Because we go to Tot Lot all the time and, you know, there used to be somebody who used to hide, when geocaching was really big.
Yep.
They used to hide geocaching items on top of the pirate's hat, and that stopped in like 2012. So it's been, 14, 15 years since they did that. Yeah, interesting.
what park was that?
Tot Lot, so Fourth and.
Yep, yeah.
Yep. But I just thought it was funny, because when I was looking it up through Google Maps for like a locator or whatever, it was Sand Park, and I'm like, well, just took all the sand out.
Really?
Okay. Okay, any other issues, questions?
No, I'm good with that guy. You guys see his name on these things a few times, so.
All right. Well, I need a motion to approve,
I'll make a motion.
and a second.
I'll second it.
Motion approved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. New business. What am I looking at? Wrong one. New business. Aquatic KAC, maintenance updates.
Heaters are fixed. They're up and running. We actually do have a boiler inspection tomorrow. That's pretty common, but, so that's good news. Heaters are up and running, they work. Going through things this year when we started off, in the past, we've had some problems with the moisture in the locker rooms. And, some faults on our end. The exhaust fans were not working. We found 4 exhaust fans not working in the aquatic center, and we did replace those. That was on probably around $2,000 to replace the 4. But they're working great now.
Okay.
It's just kinda, we're getting at that time where the pool's starting to get older and things are failing on us. One thing I did wanna bring up, I think it was my first year we bought a new slushy machine. And I think it was around $3,000, $2,000. It was expensive regardless. We're already having issues with it. I mean, one side works, the other side's throwing a code, whatever. At what point are you guys okay if we just be done with slushies and maybe look at another option? I was even thinking like shaved ice, like the snow cones. I don't know what a machine costs, but it might be something that is easier, I guess, for maintenance.
Well, when I was growing up, and when you had shaved ice, there was this little thing you put ice in, and somebody cranked it.
Well,
So that's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
But I don't think we can go that far.
Well,
But I don't.
so we rent a snow cone machine.
Okay.
It's electric,
Yep.
and you just take ice cubes,
Okay.
bagged ice, or if you take block ice, you gotta beat it.
Chisel it down.
Yep, and you just put it in a hopper on top with a metal press, and as you flip the switch, there's a cutter that shaves the ice. If you press hard, you get coarser. If you press a little lighter, you get finer shavings.
Sure.
So the only thing really you have is a motor with you know, virtually a planer blade
Right.
that's up and hidden, that's carving ice, so your only expense on the machine is just a machine. You don't have to worry about something freezing something, because you buy bagged ice. That'd be it. You're buying 20-pound bags of ice, you're gonna have to keep them in a freezer.
Sure.
And you can make it as need, because if you make it, let it sit like on a day like today, it's gonna melt pretty quick, because
Right.
those, where it sits is not a cooler, it is not refrigerated inside where it shaves into. At least not the,
How many, I mean, like, how quickly can you pump out cups of shaved ice?
it'll take you longer to scoop the ice and put it in the thing than to flip the switch and go, and all of a sudden, there it sits.
Yeah, I'm just doing a real quick look, and I mean, there's a variety of different products. You know, if you wanted to buy one, I mean, you can get a cheaper one, obviously, but you could also get one that's $500, $600, $700, and those would be, production wouldn't be an issue then, I don't think.
Okay.
No, and they're, yeah.
Actually, the one I'm looking at right here has it has a big, kind of a freezer area where it all goes through to the bottom, and then, you know, you could build some up too if you were really busy, but.
Right, yeah, it's, you know, it's a box that's,
I was just
That by
trying to
that by
look
that.
at other options, just because with those slushy machines, it's a maintenance nightmare because you're already mixing the syrup, you know. You're relying on high schoolers to clean them,
That's probably the biggest issue, I think.
and.
it's the seals, when you
A
got,
lot of seals.
when you gotta pull that apart to get
Yeah.
the seals and get it pushed back, way back in the day, we used to rent them, but they're a pain because they never come back properly, and they're heavy
Yes.
to move around. So in this case, it's stationary, but it's,
Why don't we try and see if we can get to the season?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then after the season's over with, we can evaluate if it's worth repairing, or if we want, I mean, 'cause just looking at slushing machines, there's other options for that too.
well,
Yeah.
so here's the thing with the shaved ice, or snow cone, however you wanna call it. A slush machine is in a container like a pop, soda pop with a straw, they walk around, nothing's dripping out and dropping. Shaved ice is a cone
Yeah.
that, squeezes out, hits the ground, and now you have the sugary ice that's gonna be sitting all over the pool decks and, or outside.
Well, I guess there's two ways to look at that. We can put it in a cup and avoid the cone part of it. The other thing is, we still deal with spilled slush,
Yeah, I know.
you know, so,
But a shave ice, you're chewing,
But I mean, the
If
whole
it
point of that
sits
cone
there-
is you push it up while you're
Right.
eating, whereas a cup
Right.
would be more difficult to,
because a cup is a
Moisture,
cup, you know, there's nothing,
right.
and the thing is, those paper cones, you know, eventually they drizzle out the bottom, if they're sitting there, you can get all the syrupy run. So from that standpoint, you want them to take it and go away, not take it and be around. That's the give or take to where
How are the flavorings, how much does it cost compared to?
syrups you
just-
put in, you can get it by the gallons, again, with the pump. Yeah, there's probably 15
A little
different
more
flavors.
control over.
Much more control over, but it's the mass, much simpler to sell or use. Just a matter of making sure you've got a machine that makes ice,
Yep.
or
I'm not saying
Can
we have
be
to
bu-
go
buy
out there and
bagged ice.
offer, you know, 30 flavors or a bunch of mixed flavors like they do at the fairgrounds or.
yeah, usually it's blue and red, raspberry or strawberry, and maybe another one, so.
It's just, I feel like, we might need to explore an alternative with the slush. I don't wanna get rid of it because it's such a hot seller, but at the same time, it's a maintenance nightmare on both ends for my guys and, you know, to rely on the high school staff to make sure they get cleaned right. Sure.
you have somebody coming into maintenance, the one that's got the code?
Yeah, we're doing it. We're looking up the codes and it's just, it's always,
Is it a gold medal brand?
no, it's like a, I don't know,
We've always dealt with the brand gold medal.
it's not, I know it's not that.
I mean, they're virtually all gonna be the same, but based on
And
codes.
you said, how old is it?
Well, probably
Probably.
4 years now,
I think it was 22, because I think Ronnie got that when right before he retired.
right before he
Right.
left, yeah.
That was a fall, after he bought one in the fall afterwards.
That doesn't seem very old, but I guess, like I said, it could be a maintenance nightmare on you, I think.
They get used nonstop all summer and then they sit, so.
Just looking at what I just saw online, I mean, I think one option would be just to get a cheaper slushing machine too, and just prepare to get a new one every 2 years.
Right.
You know, and instead of, you know, if you're only gonna spend $500, $600 on it, then you just say, hey, we're gonna use it till it doesn't work anymore and then replace it. Those are easier to, you can just order online if it does go down too, as opposed to these bigger machines that are more
Well,
maintenance
it's
intensive.
paying for itself,
Right, that's the
obviously.
thing, right.
A lot quicker anyway.
right?
But we'll take a look at it. That's, thanks for bringing that up though, I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
it's just something I was thinking about, so. Other than that, that's really all I got for, maintenance updates.
All right. Closure policy.
So, obviously, most of you, if not everyone's aware of the debacle we had on Thursday last week.
I'm not,
And
so,
if you're not aware of it, I was actually in Mankato at, equipment demo, so I came back to a mess. Weather was pretty crummy, pretty much till about 1:30. It was crummy in Mankato, and when we left at about noon, that's when it started getting sunny. But I came back to the pool closed, the next thing you know, I had voicemail after voicemail after voicemail of why we did it. I don't think I think some of so that first sheet that says City of Casson, that's something that Tim had got as far as like kind of a run-of-the-mill closure for pools, right? I think that is pretty comparable to what our staff has. You know, the only thing that I did not see on theirs was closure for lack of swimmers, which when I talked to the manager, that has been something they've adopted in years past, and it's obviously not written down in the binder.
Okay.
So I think realistically, we can combine these two. But anyway, weather was crummy. Assistant manager contacted PK and just said, hey, are you guys planning on coming? And they said, we're unsure. And the assistant manager at that time said, well, we might end up closing early due to the weather. Now, they should have probably been a little more proactive about looking at the weather because it was showing that it was going to clear up. But at that time, according to the assistant manager, which I have no reason to not believe them, PK said, well, we won't be coming. And at 1 o'clock, they had 6 kids in the pool, so they said that they were going to close early, but they were going to be open for swim lessons at 5, or 4, or whatever time it is. And then there must have been some miscommunication, whatever, it blew up on Facebook, became an ordeal. We lost 1 day. It wasn't that big of a deal, but to the citizens, it was a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we changed the closing policy other than adding the patrons, the lack of patrons in the pool, close early. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. The one thing I did make known to the manager is I need to know if you plan on closing. You need to contact me.
Somebody at the city office.
Yep, and he was unaware of it. Once again, we have a new manager, he's
Okay.
learning. He made a judgment call. I'm not saying he made the wrong judgment call, but we got, you know, some kickback for that. So, like even this weekend, both assistant managers called me Saturday and Sunday asking about the weather. Now, Saturday it was more or less of a shortage of staff as far as lifeguarding, and I had talked to him and said, are you able to operate with what you have? He said, yep. I said, then you want to be open. I said, things are going to clear up. We don't see anything in the forecast. And then Sunday, they just kind of contacted me, and I said, just wait it out till about 2 o'clock and let's see where we're at. And I hadn't heard back, and they stayed
Mhm.
open. So I think that was the biggest thing, is making sure that they need to communicate with me so that they know. Because I've kind of been through a few years.
that they get your approval to,
Yes, I've been through a few years of understanding how it works. I might, I got 6 different weather apps on my phone. Now, like yesterday was it yesterday we had the storms, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was kind of a good example. We probably could have closed and said, we plan on reopening at 1, because according to the weather, it looked like it was gonna clear out by 1, and it didn't clear out till 2. But that's something that we could have at least gone in, reevaluated, and said, okay, well, now it shows that it's not coming, or it's still raining, it's gonna be done by 2, we'll try again around 2:30 or whatever. And then last night it was supposed to storm, around dinner time, after dinner time, and it was fine.
Mhm.
So it's just it's hard to play the weather, but the biggest thing is now they understand that they need to communicate with me so that we're all on the same page, and then I don't come back to a mess. And then, one other thing is I don't want anyone on the board contacting the pool staff. That's my job to talk to the staff
Mhm.
at the pool, it's not the board's job. If the board has any questions or concerns, feel free to call me. I have no problem with that.
Mhm.
Now, Tim was gone on Thursday, and Christine had called me and was concerned about what was going on, whatever. She asked about trying to put up a post, and I said, that's fine. I said, just send it to me before you post it, so that I want to know what it says. Just so that people maybe would stop the backlash, and maybe it wasn't the right thing to do. I don't know if it helped or not. I don't have Facebook.
Mhm.
It would have probably been better coming from the city at that time, but just future reference for anyone on the board, contact me if we have any questions or concerns. Don't go out of your way to contact any staff members. I don't know what your guys' opinion is.
Honestly, I
What?
really wouldn't want to call anybody on the
Right.
staff. If there are any questions, you'd be the first one I ring.
Well, in my mind, you're absolutely correct, but you get to the rain days, half rain, half not rain, is it not gonna? In my mind, and I know it's income for the pool, but, if it's gonna be a patchy on-off, on-on, on-off, this is just my opinion, pool's closed for the day. 'Cause with these pop-up storms that you see, there it is. And the way they're blossoming, and you see it on your apps, and I see it on my apps, like, is it, something pops up over by, could be Fairbolt or Hayfield, which way is it coming? So you're gonna open, and then you're gonna close, then you're gonna open and close. Pool's closed for the day because just of the weather. We're not even gonna chance opening.
Well, certainly, we could close for, like, say, an afternoon session. Like, and I think that's what Ben and I talked about was, just making that decision, making a decision, and then you need to send it out. And having them email us with something to post on Facebook. They don't really have a Facebook page through the Casson Aquatic Center. For good or for bad, Facebook is where a lot of people communicate still. So, I mean, like, by 11 o'clock, based on your weather, you'd say, okay, looks like we're just gonna have to cancel this afternoon. We'll reevaluate the 5 PM session.
Right, and that makes sense, you're right, I don't wanna say have to, for the full day, because it might be just a,
Based on-
partial, knowing that nothing else is coming
And
after.
a lot of these
that
things
it's-
will they kind of go on top of each other. I mean, if the weather's bad, your numbers are gonna be low. Or if it's cold. Last year's a good example. The first 2 weeks of June, I don't even know if we hit 70. Now, we were still open some of those days. It was pretty, but it was cold. I was like, we should've done the swim lessons the first 2 weeks, because, people would have come, and then afterwards, they wouldn't have complained, because we had lost a couple hours to swim lessons during the rest of the season, but yeah, I mean, I think communication, Ben and I talked about that, and during the week especially, Ben's here most of the time, I'm here, Linda's here, somebody's here, Ashley's here at the city hall. We can give them good feedback on whether we think it's prudent to close or not. I don't wanna put all the onus on a high school student or a college freshman.
elementary, right.
It doesn't work for them, it doesn't help them, so.
Okay.
Is this just reference material, or is this our policy?
This is what Tim had come up with and found. I think, some of this stuff is in our policy, so those 3 sheets is what was in the binder for the staff, as far as closure approvals or whatever. I think what I'm gonna do is take some of the stuff that Tim had found and add it into there, like under the, excuse me, pool closing policies, the 10 or less patrons using the pool after the first 30 minutes, you know, that's something that's not in their handbook. I think we need to add that. And there's some other things, but a lot of it, you know, is the same stuff. You know, the weather, after they see lightning, close for 30 minutes or shut down for 30 minutes, reevaluate, whatever.
I mean, I think that some of these prompts probably don't get used enough either, not just on the closing of pool, but like even the general reminders. Like, I don't know that I've ever heard them say, you know, attention, Casson Aquatic Center, concessions are open and ready for you. Grab a
Right.
bite to eat. You know, like, and that was something I was gonna bring up is, what time are we gonna be running concessions until? For example, like, I swam on Saturday, Sunday, and last night, and they had concessions still until 7:45 last night, which seems to me like probably could cut that off after the last break. You know, at 7:15, I mean, to me, like, people get their snacks that last break, maybe.
Right.
Probably not, but maybe it's a hot day and they really do then. After that, I think, you know, then the kids can clean up. You know, the concessions kids should be out of there before 8 o'clock. I mean, there's no reason for them to, because nobody's eating at 7:45 on a 70-degree night like last night, you know what I mean?
So,
I don't know what they're...
do you wanna limit what we do for concessions at a certain time, or do you wanna cut it off at a certain time?
Well, I mean, I think like last night, they said concessions are gonna be closed at 7:45.
Okay.
So like, to me, like, I guess I would maybe move that up a little bit, because I don't think that extra half hour is gonna matter much.
Do we wanna cut concessions at 7:30?
I think 7:30 for sure. I mean, I'm really thinking, like, people go out for the last break, they go get their slushie, or they grab a pop, or, I mean, hopefully they're not drinking caffeine that late, but kids do anyways. But I mean, after that, like, after 7:15, there's very few people who are gonna go get, because if they were gonna get supper there, they got it at 6, or at 5:30 or whatever, you know. I don't know, I just think that maybe that'd be an efficiency thing for us too, because I mean, I saw a lot of, there was probably 4 concessions people at 7:30, you know, standing in the concessions, and they're all kinda...
Getting paid to just watch and wait.
And I mean, and that's, all I mean, some of that's gonna happen. I mean, with this weather stuff too, like, we paid a bunch of lifeguards last week for just being there, because you gotta do it, you know, but I just think that that's an easy one to control, is the concessions part of it. a
Yeah,
little bit.
I have absolutely no problem with that.
And I mean, the pool, I was there Saturday, Sunday, Monday, the water was good, the lifeguards did a good job, it looked cleaner than it did last year, I thought, you know, so, I mean, all good positive things I have to say for it, but yeah, just, we can always tweak it a little bit, sorry.
And I think,
Okay. I
Sorry,
just
go
thought
ahead.
maybe we should, maybe just kind of monitor it, document it for a little bit and see, because my thinking, if these kids have that money, they're gonna spend that. Mom, Dad gave me $2, I'm gonna spend it today. So if it closes up at 7:15, they don't have a chance to spend that $2 yet.
Well, I mean, part of it is for this prompt, though, I mean, you announce, like, hey, we're closing it, I mean, if
Yeah.
the kids are gonna spend it, announce at 7:15, we're closing at
If they-
7:15.
yeah, if
You know
they
what I
hear
mean?
it, but-
Right, but, I mean, whatever, I don't know,
I
I
don't
just
know,
see
but
these
that's
little
just
things,
my
and it's like,
thinking.
I don't know.
You know, that's my,
I mean, I don't
That's the
see
way.
why, you know, one person could be in there and they could sell a bottle of pop or a
Sure.
candy bar.
And maybe just
You know,
reduce the staff down, right?
Whatever.
Maybe not hot food, maybe not the pizza anymore, or whatever, you know.
If we run out of popcorn at 7 o'clock, don't make another batch.
Right.
If we run out of whatever, you know,
There's a-
cheese, why put another batch in the heater?
Just you're gonna throw it away, right? No, that's a good point. Yeah, so maybe just reduce service after a certain period.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, maybe somebody will grab a water bottle or a pop or a candy bar, and that's easy to,
Yeah.
but you don't have to have 4 people standing around.
I mean, they
for that.
sell slushies, I mean, the slushies machines run 24/7, so it's not like they couldn't sell a slushie at 7:30.
Sure, right.
But,
I see what I'm
I
saying.
get your point, that will be something we can easily address, you know, maybe don't start making new stuff after 7.
Right.
It might be a thing where you set a shutdown time of 7:30, but if you've got 30 kids in the pool and it seems like, you know, they're still coming to the concession stand, you could call it, we're gonna reduce it down to what they call a simple concessions.
Right.
Your pop, your candy bar, and that's it. But as far as...
Well, I mean, some days, like, you know, we get to the height of summer here in the next 2 weeks, and it's 90 degrees out on Saturday, there will be people getting stuff, so that's different, like, a night when there's only 15, 20 people in the pool and it's 70
Start
degrees
closing
out,
it down.
you know, yeah, it just
Know
seems...
your audience, know what's...
And they're kids, so I mean, it's hard for them to
Sure.
know that without us saying, here's what you're gonna do, you know?
Yeah, there's a chance you could extend your concessions, but,
Right.
you know, have a shutdown time.
I think we could probably tail it off on a
Plus.
regular basis more,
Yeah.
earlier. Maybe keep it open later on the weekends or something like that, but like tonight, I mean, I'll go over and see if the kids wanna swim, you know, late, but they probably will be real busy, I'm guessing, so.
if the manager just knows the goal is to taper off or send people home early, can they just make the decision and that's?
I think
so.
Maybe they just are under the impression, hey, we're open till 8, so it's open till 8, and, oh, wait, I guess this is what we should be doing.
And that could be part of it too, and, you know, that kinda goes back to wanting a manager who, I don't wanna say older, but I wanna say more, like, is present, is there more often, is able to be there more often. And that's something that I want to revisit towards the end of the season about how to advertise for that, how to reach out to, you know, whether it's teachers or someone who has a summer off that could do that. Because realistically, I don't need my manager to be certified in lifeguarding or WSI. It's great if they are. I need them to know how to manage a group of younger kids and to make those decisions comfortably. But without trying to get way off topic, are we okay with the procedures that we have if I adopt some of the stuff that Tim had wrote up?
Yeah,
I think so.
I am,
Okay.
yeah.
I think that debacle on Thursday was a little bit a lot of miscommunication as far as what was said on Facebook or however it was, and the staff at the pool knows to contact me, assistant managers, when they're, you know, thinking about making that decision.
Yeah, there's a lot of complaints. I read them, but I didn't say a word.
You know, and
But,
So in the hearings that, for safety reasons, whoever's in charge of the pool at the time has the authority to shut it down, but for lack of participants, somebody at the city needs to be contacted for approval?
yeah, I think they're smart enough to understand that if there's lightning, we shut down. What day did we talk? Was that
Friday.
Yesterday, though.
Okay.
Or Friday. Was it raining Friday?
No.
I don't know what's going on. The other day, yesterday when it was raining, we had
Yeah.
thunder and lightning, okay?
Right, yeah.
So I went up to the pool after I met with you. They were closed down for 30 minutes. People were there waiting, and there were still people coming in to want to swim, but they said, we got 10 minutes left on our 30 minutes. We'll check and make sure we don't have any more lightning. They're competent enough to understand those guidelines. Like I talked to Patrick, I said, we need a better answer from those groups that might be coming, like PK or JHL, on whether they're coming or not. Because that's kind of where I think we got the miscommunication, and then it blew up on Facebook. But it was one day. And that just goes to show how upset people get over one day. We got a lot of summer left.
Yep. Okay, all right, good. We don't need a motion or anything on that, I think we'll just, you're gonna just try to
Yep,
reduce stuff.
like I said, I'll put the, you know, lack of participants
There you
part
go.
into their
Mhm.
binder, and they know to communicate with me. I'll add that in there,
Into it.
you know, call your, the public works supervisor or whatever.
Okay. All right. All right, anything else? Okay. All right, old business. Northeast Playground update.
I don't know if anyone's drove by.
It's wet.
lately.
It's very wet.
We got a good jump on it right at the beginning of the year, then obviously,
Yeah, it just went, yeah.
focusing onto the pool and all the other things that come along with, spring startup stuff. We do have the tower built, everything is built off that tower, so it will be going a lot smoother from here on out.
Mhm.
And right now, we have 3 or 4 guys that are on vacation this week, so I am very short-staffed on top of having to prepare ball fields, mow, and the
Mhm.
pool. But I think we'll get it going and it'll start going a little quicker. But it's tall.
Is it?
It's very tall. But I'm excited to see the final product, so, we're making sense of all of it, we're getting it put together.
So whenever it rains, that, corner, it kinda flies
Yep.
down here.
So,
It
we
fills in
are
pretty
going
good. Are
to
you
be
gonna drain
adding
it?
tile line.
Okay.
Yep, we bought some tile line that we will be adding on the outside edge,
Okay,
and we'll run it out so it can daylight and go to the curb.
yeah,
Yep.
okay, good.
I'm not gonna hold you to it, but is there any estimate on when that might be done?
I'm not even gonna give you an answer. I'd like to, but I don't know.
Sure.
But like I said, it doesn't look like we got much up, but the 4 poles and the platforms that we put in were hard, but everything is built off of that, so it'll go a lot smoother.
Sure.
All right, good. Inclusive swing update.
Okay, so we are at $16,036 for that swing. And that is including the SHIP grant, which I'm still waiting to receive, but that is all the donations that we have had for the swing.
Could you say that again?
16,036. And I'm still working with a couple people which are volunteering work. The concrete sidewalk potentially would be fully donated, the labor and
Nice.
the concrete, which leads me into the cost of port in place, which would be on top of that. I had talked with a couple, one Safety First Playground Maintenance, and kind of told them what we were up to and their opinion on just having a concrete sidewalk, and they strongly advised against it. They said either do wood chips or pour in place, don't just do concrete because of trip hazards. So I did get a quote for the sidewalk to be covered in the pour in place, which is $4,000. So that's something that I think we'll add into it as long as that concrete and everything is already gonna be paid for. But we are above and beyond of what we expected. And then Sarah and I kinda sat down and talked about, well, let's try not to stop there. Let's see where we can get, joint ventures is still part of our plan
Mhm.
if we need them. It's kind of like that last ditch effort to get the rest of what we want. So that picture that I had printed off is kind of one of those, standalone features, sensory features. We could get two 8-foot fences, so each fence has 4 panels for $6,000. And Sarah really likes that fence. Now, there's a bunch of, what you see there is not all the options as far as that go in the fence. But I was looking up other features, like whether it was just those drums, or bells or something like that. Each one of those is like $4 or $5 grand a piece.
So
Where
this
did you
is,
put this, Ben?
I'm kind of playing around with certain areas, so where we were thinking of this swing going is, between the sidewalk of the pool essentially, and then the existing, playground. So it would be on the north side of the little sandbox, right? So I was thinking that this could even be a good divider between that sidewalk of the pool and the swing area. If that makes sense.
So you'd put it north-south, or would you put it east-west?
It would go north and south
Between the sidewalk of the pool and the swing?
in the swing, correct?
Okay.
Perhaps someone in a wheelchair could access it from.
Correct.
From the,
The point of doing any of these standalones would be to have them along a sidewalk. Now, we have a sidewalk that goes through that entire park. But yes, the point of having those standalones is to have them off a sidewalk so that anyone can access them.
Have you taped it off measurement-wise?
Yep, yep,
I know the electric box is just on that north side
Yep.
too, so I don't wanna have any issues with conflicting that.
yeah, we should be okay.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense.
But once, once I get a final tally on everything, what it costs, where we're at, you know, we're gonna see where we're at as far as funds wise and see if this is a feasible thing. I mean, an additional $6,000 isn't.
What's your deadline? What do you want to have this, cause you gotta pick a date when you say, hey, we're done collecting, we gotta do it or don't do it. you
Yep,
know.
so that's kind of where me and Sarah kind of sat down and talked about it. I gotta get some numbers put together quick, meet with a few people so that we know exactly where we're at as far as, like, down to the dollar of what this is gonna cost to do just the swing and the area. And then Sarah was talking about, we'll go out there, fundraise for, we'll put a deadline on it, whether it's a month or two. I told her I wanna have it completed by sometime in September.
Okay, sounds
I
good.
think that's pretty realistic.
Yeah.
And you planning on installation this fall or then next spring?
Oh, no, we'll install it in September.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the swing in the shop already. I mean, we're just kinda waiting on the final details of the volunteer help, what they are willing to do, what we don't have to
Concrete, I mean,
do.
those guys are hard to nail down sometimes.
Yeah, so I would just like, I would assume I would like to get it done sooner than later. I think October is pushing it as far as my staff doing anything, because that's kind of when we start getting the pool winterized. You know, we have that month of September is a good time for if we have to excavate or whatever we gotta do on our side. So I think September would be my goal.
So these are like activity panels, is that what the deal is?
Yes, yep.
Okay, so.
No, kinda like what they've got over at the, elementary school off the northeast side there, they've got those panels they put in next to their little
I'll
park
have to
there.
go take a look at them, I haven't.
Yeah, they've got some, you know, like little wildlife animal sound panels and bells and,
Okay.
you know, kinda little thingies.
Yeah, I'll have to go take a look at them. As far as, these panels, you know, the pieces come off or everything just kinda stays on and they, you know, 'cause it is park.
Yeah, you know, and we've talked about this before. With it being at North Park, that close to the pool, it's such a heavily populated park.
Should be all right.
I'm not saying people don't mess with stuff, but I think with it being up there, it's less likely to be.
Well, yeah, better than a Lions Park. Mhm. Okay. All right, anything else on that? Any more questions, any comments? Nope.
Keep going forward.
All right, yeah. I'm glad you got that much money in such a short time. That's awesome. Cool. Park trees.
Just wanted to give you, obviously, we're done with the Boulevard program. We were able to do 5 trees on 12th Street Northwest, kind of in a city-owned boulevard. I did 3 oaks and 2 Japanese lilacs in the boulevard there. We did 2 maples out at that soccer park for Arbor Day. And I actually had a homeowner call me that just bought a house, and the previous owner bought boulevard trees from us. There were 2 lindens, and she wants them removed, and she said you can have them for free. So,
Are you gonna use those to replace the dead ones in Veterans?
yes, yep.
I think we have 3 dead there.
Yeah. Well, those ones around, I think I'm gonna, not touching those yet. I know those are dead, but I'm gonna add the lindens out between the ball fields.
Okay,
Keep filling that in.
'cause I know we have a bunch that didn't make it,
Yeah.
so. And I don't know why,
Some of it, you know, there was one that when Wilker augered down, it was a lot of limestone down there, so there's a handful of reasons why.
Look for some different locations, maybe?
Yeah.
Good.
That's it?
Yep, we're slowly but surely filling up with trees
Trees,
again.
yeah.
It'll be a long time before they grow big enough, but...
We were down on Boulevard tree purchases on quite a bit, were we?
Yes. A little bit, yeah. From years past, we were down, yep.
Seems like, I'm going from years past, 'cause I'm the old guy here.
We used to do around 30 trees, and I think we were down to, like, we were upper 30s, mid to upper 30s, and we were down to about 25 this year.
Well, just might be filling in. I mean, a lot of people
Right.
just
Well,
don't.
there's a lot of empty boulevards out
Oh,
there,
is there?
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There's some people that just don't want a tree. They don't want the mess.
You know, okay, okay, correspondence.
Oh, 2 months ago, we talked about, I had brought up about KMBA, about that banner. I don't know, you want me to kind of jog your guys' memory? They asked
Yeah.
about hanging a sponsor banner.
Oh, yeah,
on the
yeah,
back.
yeah, okay.
It's one banner with all their sponsors, and I kind of picked their brain about some things. So I was under the assumption that it was gonna be multiple banners,
Mhm.
whatever.
Like, yeah.
Like the ball field used to be, yeah.
Yep, back in the day where we had tons of banners on there. But they, I've kind of brought up, them helping us out a little bit here and there, and that wasn't on their, I guess, radar this year. It's gonna be brought to their attention for the group next year. One thing they are gonna help, or they're going to purchase, is a new home plate for North Two, which those are like $300. So that was kind of one of those things that I threw out there that we need to replace. I had talked about the fence, the yellow tile line
Safety
that
tile,
goes
yeah.
on the fence. So that's, there's some things that are in the works now with them, and maybe they didn't all know about, helping out a little bit here or there, if we can. And I think they're gonna try to work on doing banners, like real banners. So there's more of a possibility that we can update some things at the ball fields.
Maybe that's enough to spur them on. I mean, if they put in the effort into getting banners, that could be a good deal for them.
Absolutely. I mean, there's tons of things that we can improve on in those ball fields. One major thing being the lighting. Trying to switch over to maybe LED, and that's far down the road.
I remember the first lighting that went up there.
I was
So-
reminded of that today. And then I guess just another heads up, we did, North One scoreboard went out. I had Dale and Maxon come out, and we, singled it down to, we have a fault underground. So the electric guys are gonna help me try to locate where the fault is so we can get it repaired, but there's plenty of reasons of why it could've happened, but it's not the scoreboard and it's not the breaker box. So
Okay.
Okay.
hopefully we can get that taken care of soon.
Who's doing the trail on the Northwest Park there? Who's working on that? Is that a county function?
Northwest Park, we're doing that.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got some state funding for
Okay.
that trail that's going up behind those houses.
Yep,
up along the
that's what I'm
Northwest
talking about, yep,
Yep.
yep. You got, that is that gonna be done this year, or?
Well, I think they're planning on it. It's Hazelton, they're a pretty big contractor, so I would imagine they'll be done. They're working on 8th and downtown, too.
They were about
All
ready
right.
for blacktop right now.
Yeah, no, they're moving pretty fast. 8th Street is probably gonna be paved, and they might pave those at the same time, actually, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just stumbled across it today when I was out
Oh,
riding
sure, I saw
around.
you this morning, yeah.
I was down there on that end, and I
Yeah, that's
Didn't realize
actually
where it was
gonna, that's
coming
actually
out.
gonna, that goes along the backside, well, kind of the back of those houses in the park, and it'll actually hook into the trail that Tony Bigelow is building along the waterway into the new subdivision that he's building up there, and that trail's gonna go up along the west side of his subdivision, and then it'll cross up at 16th, and then it'll hook into the 16th Street Trail at the dump road. So that'll be really a really nice
Yeah.
corridor, the kids can come all the way up there from the,
Mhm.
so that'll be a real big plus, and actually, then, there's gonna be a trail going through the other subdivision on the east side of the street too, that'll hook in right into Veterans Park. So it'll kind of funnel kids into the school or into Veterans Park, so that'll be nice.
Good.
I don't know if you were here when we had talked about that trail, and not that we went into great detail about that trail, but we had talked about, is there a way, and maybe you don't know, because it would probably be more of an engineering thing, is there a way to try to connect where Ryan lives to that new trail?
I don't think there really is.
Okay.
I mean, you'd have to put a bridge in.
Oh, you
Right.
gotta put a bridge across it.
And I mean, I don't think you wanna, I don't know, we wanna get into that.
Well, I was just curious. I don't know if I want to get into that either,
I mean,
but
I'm sure you could, I'm sure we could, but I don't know what the footbridge
I
is
want
gonna cost.
to, I want to do it right, but I also don't want to break the bank trying to do it.
I mean, you're talking about substantial investment there.
Right, okay.
Mhm.
I can ask, I can float it past.
I'm just curious,
Sure.
I don't know what liabilities or, things like that.
Well, I mean, you've got
as
those
far
little
as-
bridges out at I'm not worried about liability, it's just, it would be built to a pretty significant scale. I mean, you'd have a huge concrete,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like we could just throw a couple power poles with some wood platform across.
It's okay with me, I don't know if the council would care for that too much,
Right.
I don't know, but,
Well, don't tell them.
No.
yeah, right.
I was saying it was done,
Figure it
Let's
out.
just do that.
I said it was done under the radar, and also, where did this get done? And
Yeah, where'd that footbridge come from? I don't know. Anyway,
That's
well,
gonna
we
be
can take a
really
look at it,
I'm
yeah.
just curious.
That might suck up your budget for a couple of years
Yeah, well, I
there.
don't, yeah.
More modular, as we build a footbridge. Yeah. Okay,
But it's really nice, I like to see extended trails, I do.
yeah.
It's,
Well, I mean, I will say, like, I know at the council level, we have talked a little bit about sidewalks also. So there are a number of sections in town where there's very little access. A good example would be like 7th Street, northeast. You come off of when they rebuilt 57, you got nice on both sides. You get to 7th Street, going west, it's fine, to the park. Going east, you have an oversized road, but there's no sidewalks at all. So one of the thought processes would be if that road is rebuilt in the future, and it will be at some point, we might actually narrow that road up so that you can provide for a pedestrian sidewalk, maybe on the north side, I don't know, we'd have to look at it, but just because, I mean, that's hugely trafficked. And I mean, unless you cut to the fairgrounds, it's kind of it's a bad spot,
I
really.
think at one time in the past, whenever a road was reconstructed, sidewalks were thrown in. Because
Yeah.
there were some on 6th, when we did 4th, 5th, and 6th projects, there weren't some sidewalks, I mean, it was hit and miss. One block would have them, one block wouldn't have them, and it's like, well, this is stupid. They put them in, of course, people argued about it, but it was like...
Well, and they actually pulled a lot of those sidewalks out of 4th, 5th, and 6th, so there aren't a lot of sidewalks there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that was some pushback from the public, and the council kind of gave way on that a little bit. I mean, I think if we ended up doing it, I mean, the trade-off is that, people wouldn't be losing any square footage, and that's an important thing. If you're nearing up the road, you're taking that repavement cost and putting it into sidewalks instead of, you're not taking people's yards, because you don't want to do that, but I mean, because if you go all the way down to where 5th intersects with 7th, on the east side of that, there is sidewalk, again, on that block. And it only goes for, half a block, but
Right.
it's just a matter of who the developer was, when they developed, and what they were required to do. Because we've still got those
City
areas in the
requirement.
northeast where you got 4-foot sidewalks, and you got 5-foot sidewalks, and it looks really goofy, but,
Yeah.
that was just when they built the house, so,
Yeah.
anyway.
All right, well, Second has sidewalks over on that side, Second Avenue.
Yeah, it does on the west side of Second, yep.
3rd Avenue.
And that street project, First and Second rebuild on the northwest, is probably the next big street project the city will be taking on. And it may not be for a couple of years, I think we're gonna do a big seal coat next year, or a big sort of maintenance project, but it might be 27 when they start that First and Second, so.
Okay, all right. Yeah, but every time I was on council and they brought up a thing about sidewalks, everybody just went, ugh,
Yeah, well,
there's gonna be arguments.
It's
I don't
probably still
want
that
it,
way.
you don't
though.
want it, I don't want it, you gotta, just like, whatever, but, oh well, okay, anything else?
How many ball teams we have playing?
yeah, what's the softball count look like?
Yep.
So do we have more that they just didn't team, or Or 4 is hard to get, or 4 is just a solid 4?
It was a solid 4. We had 5 last year, and then that 5th team kinda broke apart and formed with the other 4.
So you got double headers playing?
Yep.
That's good.
Okay.
I don't know what it's gonna be in the
Well, everybody knows that if you have kids, or as they're having kids, kids will take the precedence over the adult having their own time, and there's just so much more things going on than there was 15, 20 years ago.
And, you know, and I'm not real, I could care less. Do I like seeing it? Yes. But those fields could be utilized if they weren't playing on Thursday nights. I know the KMBA is looking for more field usage all the time. That was one of the things that, you know, we were kinda going back and forth. They had debated on maybe trying to switch nights. There was a handful that were okay with it, and then there's a bunch that didn't. But I had brought that up to the president for KMBA, and they said, well, let us know, because we could utilize that field that, you know, on Thursday nights. So, I mean,
I think we should keep an adult option, because there, like you're saying, there are so few adult options these days, and if that's taken away, then they...
I won't ever tell them that they can't play unless they only have 2 teams or something like that.
Well, it's a case where if you don't have enough to even justify the prep of the fields, and,
Right.
and nobody wants to play 3 times in a night, you know, back to back to back, you know.
It's a lot of beer there, Greg, you're gonna have to get through that, 3 getting back to back.
You're right, coming to that last back, you're like,
You'd be
hey.
pretty walked across the bases there, yeah.
But on the other hand, you know, if it's, gets to be a point where, and reality says, you know, as this is scaling back, you know, we want activities in our park. And if it's, you gotta take one away to enhance something else, you know, does Hayfields have a league? Who else has softball leagues around us?
Well, even
West Concord?
some of the, you know, one of the guys that works with me, his kid plays in a softball league in Roch, and he says it's died down considerably over the years.
Right, and, you know.
And they probably promote it quite a bit more, you know, and theirs is sanctioned. I got out of sanctioning our league because of the hassle that it caused with trying to get umps, this, that, whatever. And that was the guys' choice, you know?
Yeah, that's.
And
yeah.
I thought maybe, you know, that might potentially get some more teams involved.
Because it becomes a beer league versus
Yeah.
a sanctioned league, which is totally different. You bring in the big teams because they're sanctioned, well, it's like, I just wanna play ball.
I mean, I'll be interested to see how the pickleball courts up in Manorville, how well
Yeah.
used those are. Because I think that's where a lot of the boomers are kinda switching over from some of the other stuff to like pickleball. And if that's what, I mean, I'll be interested to see how that goes. Cause I think they're building 4 up there, aren't they?
I think it was 3 and then
I
a
thought-
warm-up area,
Oh, okay.
is what I was told. It might have changed. So, I don't know. They've
But-
started construction on it.
No, I know they have up there, so that'll be
About
interesting to see.
done.
What's that?
I heard it was about done.
You know, I know they poured a slab, I don't know if they got the top surface on it or not, I don't know, I haven't been up there, so.
I haven't either, but...
I haven't seen it in a little while, so.
Well, just for the future, it's, you know, I've been around softball since I moved to Casson back in the early 90s, and, you know, we wanna see activity in our park, and I just don't wanna see a handful of adults on one field in this case.
Yeah.
You know, when you could have both fields going to enhance the park for patrons, anybody at the park to see what's going on, so, you know, we'll see what next year brings. If you're down to 4 and it's a solid 4, but, you know, what happens if it gets down to 3? Well, the program's, you know, that's something we'll have to talk about, and like I said, it's getting less and less and less, 'cause it used to be, you know, a solid 4 games, 8 teams, and that was men's, and then you had the co-rack on Friday night, which was another 60. You know, it's just,
You
times
had women's,
change.
you had men's, you had co-ed.
Well, I mean, but, you know,
Women's act, yeah.
that's the parks, you know, they change over time. You know, used to have all the horseshoe
Oh.
stuff in the parks, and that went away, the Gaga ball, that was kind of a craze for a while, and
The
those
what?
of, Goga ball, Gaga ball, or whatever, you know, with a little ball pit, like they've got one at the middle school still. But, you know, it's like an octagon, you kick a ball around, you throw a ball, whatever. It was, you missed it.
Missed that
It was
one.
a craze for a while. You know, so I mean, you know, but, you know, pickleball is gonna do the same thing. I mean, there'll always be people playing it, but I don't think it's it's not always gonna be
I mean,
huge.
even
Something else will come
disc
up.
golf, you know,
Right.
that was a pretty heavy craze for a while,
Yep.
and that's definitely.
I don't think I see anybody,
You know, we don't see
anybody
much
bringing
usage on
their,
that, so.
their bag full of Frisbees anymore. It's
No.
just,
There might be a few from time to time,
but it's just because they're gonna throw a Frisbee, but it's the true Frisbee golf, you know, when you bring in somebody from around to come play the course. Yeah, so it's,
Our pickleball court's been open almost every morning I've gone by. There hasn't been anybody in it.
is it because we only have one? Or is it,
I don't know.
who knows?
I mean,
Well, like I said, we'll see, it'll be interesting to see what, how
Maybe
Manorville's goes, anyway.
oh, okay.
We don't know
Okay.
how to play it, we don't have lessons, we don't have rackets. Maybe that's something the city, or, you know, somebody else needs to look into.
Community ed might be a good spot
Yeah,
for that.
community ed, teach lessons, provide rackets.
So the next
They do
meeting,
that, actually, community ed.
Oh, do they? Okay.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, they're inside. They're-
Oh, that's right, they play in the gym.
Yep.
I don't know if they have rackets though, or classes, do they?
well, rackets aren't that expensive.
No, they're cheap, they're really cheap, yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know if they have classes, but they do quite a bit.
All right.
All right,
Anyway.
cool. Anyway,
So the next meeting is July 15th, is that what I kinda looked?
This,
I
Second
may not
Wednesday?
be here, 'cause the first Tuesday is the first.
right, yeah, no, it'd be the July 15th, would normally when we'd have it. That's right.
It's fair time, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe we'll, you know, depending on what kind of content level we have, we may not even have it. You know, in the past, we've had, if the pool, that's the big one in the summer, you know,
Say
right?
anything.
Hey, I'm still expecting that park to be, that module be done by the July 4th weekend. You know, that's the target, you know, right, Ben? You know, you got 2 weeks to finish it up, here, all right? There you go. The kids will all be home, you gotta have it done so
Is
they
this
can
where
go
we're
out.
supposed to push the mute button?
Anyway, sounds good.
So, okay,
all right, well, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second,
I'll second.
sorry. We have a motion and a second,
Aye?
all in favor say aye. All opposed, all right. All right
Okay.
then.
Thank you,
Everybody
everybody.
need a, ultimate car wash card? Still got one left.